Anybody wants to reorganize this agenda for any reason at this time, or add anything? Yes, Beth?
Is this when I can ask you a question?
I'm sorry?
Is this when I can ask a question?
No.
No, okay.
No, this is agenda, unless it has to do with the agenda.
No, it's
You're up next, though. Okay, hearing none, comments from Select Board, Town Manager, and citizens, topics not on the agenda. So that.
So I sent a letter to all the select board members and the town manager about the vote y'all had on the auto redemption. I didn't get any response. I'm not sure if that form really works on the website, or did y'all get those? I didn't get any.
Did you get it?
I didn't get anything either.
I've had that call before, but I don't have anybody's email, so all you can do is
I got
submit that form.
I got a couple emails. I'm pretty sure I got yours, and I got another resident, kind of in the same ballpark about it.
I do usually receive them via the website, but this one I did not.
Okay, well, should I just share what I remember that I wrote?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Well, my first concern was there is a sign there still is a sign saying that everything goes to charitable organizations. So I was asking the board to reconsider that vote because misinforming the residents if they're thinking the money is going to a charitable organization rather than going to the town. And the second concern I had is I'm not sure there's any labor involved with storing the bottles. I think one of the members of the audience was misinformed. I mean, I don't know, but when I go there every week, but the bottle redemption center's over on the right, and the recycling for the glass is over there, so I'm not sure labor's involved. Anyway, that was my letter, and I asked that you would consider the vote, especially considering the sign says that all the money goes to charitable organizations.
And just so you know, that mirrors the email that I got from another resident.
From another resident? Okay. We can certainly take that up. Brandon, is there anything you want to say to this?
I did ask Ray to remove the sign. And, the decision in the last meeting was made because the transfer station is currently operating in a cumulative deficit. And it was in the general fund in the past for charitable, for 501c3s and to do flags and so forth.
And was there any other conversation about the request?
Yes, so in the last meeting, we did ask that the gardening club go to the Parks and Recreation Commission and request funding through their reserve account. But I recently learned that a majority of the Parks and Recreation Commission are gardening club members, so I issued guidance to Amy Beth Main that there's a conflict of interest that I confirmed with the treasurer.
Can I just clarify, this has nothing to do with the garden club? I
Yep.
don't care who you give money to, but for the past 3 or 4 years, there's been that sign saying it's going to charity. And if you want to change it going forward, but I just think it's unethical to do that.
And the sign was there this weekend when you went,
It was
okay.
Saturday, and it's, I'm sorry I didn't remember that at the last meeting, because I drive by it every week.
Yep,
Do you recall who made the motions in the last meeting?
I don't.
Dave?
So,
Anybody remember?
I don't know, but I had quite a bit to say about it. There are other, I don't know how deep you want to get into this or talk about it later.
Not terribly
Okay,
tonight.
then I would refer to the minutes that were in, I don't know, I haven't looked at the minutes to see whether my comments are noted in the minutes, but for specific, I don't think the cause of the garden club wasn't put aside. It was the method that was being taken up with the whole picture of the transfer station.
Well, that's the point she's trying to make too, is that she's trying to separate the garden club from the situation as well.
So Dave did make the motion, Kelly seconded it, all in favor.
Okay. So we'll consider this for a future agenda item, Brandon.
Okay.
pull together some research on this and, figure out what we're gonna do with it. It'll be up to the board, obviously, to move
Thank you.
backwards, but
I
Thank you.
just don't think you had all the facts when you voted, yeah.
okay, any other comments? Citizens' topics not on the agenda?
I have one, but if we have citizens first, we can do that.
Anything? No comments? No questions?
We're behaving.
Okay.
All right, then,
You, sir? Okay, thank you. Yep. Okay,
then,
Paul.
then I have one. So, I'd like to read something, I'll give it to you to put in the minutes. I'd please like to have the board accept this letter as my resignation from the Weathersfield Select Board and Planning Commission. My last day of service to the town will be Monday, August 28th, 2023. That's the next Planning
Planning
Commission
Commission.
meeting, so we'll finish that out. My wife and I have accepted jobs in Asheville, North Carolina area. She is already relocated to our new home there, and I will be following in the next few weeks. I want to thank the Select Board and the residents of Weathersfield for the opportunity to serve them and the town. The knowledge and experience I've obtained while serving the Select Board and the Planning Commission has been invaluable and will help me with any future ventures in my political career. This has been a bittersweet decision for me. I love this town and the people. I wish everyone all the best, and Weathersfield will always be my home.
Thank you, Paul. A couple of things. With the resignation, the board has to make a decision on appointment of a member to fill the seat until the next election is had. That would be the March election, so it would be 3 seats on the ballot this coming year. I talked to the town manager several times about this. We're getting ready to head into budget season. We're already at the end of August. Paul will be here through August. So with that, I'd like to take the next 3 weeks to advertise the vacancy. And on this, not the next meeting, but the following meeting. See, our next meeting would be, see, the 28th would be August 31st, that's 3, and then the 4th would be the 4th, I believe, of September. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And that's
So-
Labor Day, so that one will get moved
Yeah, September 5th.
to Tuesday the 5th. That's our next meeting, but the 4th is still a Monday, so the following one would be 14 days after that would be the 21st. So September 21st, we'll do an appointment to fill the vacancy.
September 21st is a Thursday. Would we do the 18th, which is the regular
18th,
meeting?
Yes, yes, sorry. My math failed me.
No worries.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think we should advertise, but I don't think we should have a firm date upon an appointment. I think we should see how it goes and whether people put their names in or not, because let's see, let's leave the opening for a meeting and then see how, I wouldn't name the date that we were gonna.
I don't have a problem naming the date. If we have names, we can do it. If we don't have names, we'll just continue it. So I don't have a problem with the date.
Now, one of the things that I'll have to do is post a notice of vacancy, similar to what we did with the listers, Dave. Back when we had lister vacancies, it's a notice that you post at the post offices, advertising the select
Yes.
board vacancy.
Yep.
So that'll be in addition to what's on the agenda.
Now, we typically set the agenda on Thursday prior to the meeting. What date, what's that day?
The Thursday prior to the next meeting or the following meeting?
The meeting that I just said. The
Oh,
eight- which
September
would be the
18th?
18th.
September 14th.
Okay, that's Thursday?
Yep.
So Thursday, the 14th will be the last day for those to come in,
Okay.
so that we can hit the agenda with it. Because the names will be in the appointments. Okay? That's a little more than 3 weeks, but not much. Okay? With that, Paul and I met on some kind of, well, normal terms, I guess, at a bar. I went out to dinner one night. I haven't drank in 33 years, by the way. Anyway, so,
You met him 33 years ago?
I met him, I met,
Rock, it was Black Rock.
I was at the Black Rock restaurant, and I was listening to this gentleman talking about some things, and basically, I introduced myself and I said, you know, maybe you ought to put your money where your mouth is. And I told him about some of the vacancies that were filled. We had one at the planning commission, and by golly, he signed up. And Paul has been just incredible. He's always there. He does an incredible amount of research. He's incredibly organized. He's going to be severely missed on our boards and commissions here in this town. I hope we find somebody that they're going to have some pretty big shoes to fill. Paul, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and to work with you on these boards. I want to thank you on behalf of the town of Weathersfield for your service. And we have this little plaque here for you. Thank you for your service to the town of Weathersfield. And that, my friend. Thank you. God bless. Don't miss you, my friend. Thank you. As he said earlier, bittersweet.
Yeah, it was a little, it happened faster than I thought it would have. So we had a lot of good things fall into our lap that we couldn't pass up, so.
Yep,
So we jumped
when it's
on it.
meant to be. Okay. Comments from citizens, select board members, town manager, topics not on the agenda. Are there any others from anybody? None? Okay. Review minutes from the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes 8/7/2023 with corrections if necessary?
Make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Excuse me. Motion's been made and seconded. How do they look?
Look all right.
Now, I didn't check. Can everybody online hear me okay? I see Ryan's on there, Brandon, Wendy, Joe, you guys can hear okay? Thank you, Wendy.
Can hear you fine.
Thank you, Ryan. All right. Motion's been made. No discussion? All in favor of the motion, approve the minutes, 8/7/2023, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Continued public hearing, zoning bylaws, use tables and definitions. Who's taking that? Brandon or Ryan, you taking that? Ryan? Can you hear me now?
You might be on mute.
Oh, yep, my internet cut out for a second. Are you talking to me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Take it away with the zoning bylaws.
Well, as we discussed last time, the overall purpose of this is to kind of catch up with changes that have been made in the past, and so this use table change basically clarifies, it makes the terms match the rest of the bylaws. And it reorganizes some things that are out of place. Certain uses like the home-based occupation and home-based business, all that stuff had changed. So that's getting updated or put in its right place. And that's really the gist of it.
Okay. And as I recall, the end of the last meeting, we were just holding off on this to allow time for any feedback from the public. Did you hear any? Did you receive
I haven't
it?
seen any emails or received voicemails about it, and I haven't. No one's come in to talk in the office or anything.
And Brandon?
I have not received any feedback.
Okay. And the board is prepared to move on this? Yes or no?
What is is it similar to Highway 95? What is the procedure, or what is the general procedure on this? There's nothing here on the, unless I'm in the wrong place.
So the law, whether you gotta read it like 3 times.
No. Yeah, so usually
No.
the town manager gives us guidance on, you know, here we go, and this is the procedure on what's carried out.
Yep.
So,
Do you want me to give that guidance now?
Routine adoption.
Yep.
Page 2 of 87 in the packet, which is actually not the packet, it is the third item in the packet, which is the zoning
So
bylaws.
it's not on here on our screen?
It's a
Yes, it
separate,
is.
it's a
Oh,
separate packet.
Way different.
Yeah, it's a separate packet.
Yeah.
You want me to pull it up on your iPad, Dave?
No, but just,
Okay.
for the record, I think we should be talking about it here for the minutes and everything.
I can read it to you.
Okay.
Routine adoption, A bylaw amendment, or bylaw repeal shall be adopted by a majority of the members of the legislative body, that's us, at a meeting that is held after the final public hearing. Final public hearing has already been closed, and shall be effective 21 days after adoption unless by action of the legislative body, the bylaw amendment, or bylaw repeal is warned for adoption by the municipality by Australian ballot, or at a special or routine regular meeting of the municipality. B, however, a rural town, as defined in section 4303 of this chapter, by vote of that town at a special or regular meeting duly warned on the issue, may elect to require that the bylaws, bylaw amendments, or bylaw repeals shall be adopted by vote of the town by Australian ballot at a special or regular meeting duly warned on that issue. That procedure shall then apply until rescinded by the voters at a regular or special meeting of the town. B, in this case, does not apply because we have not voted to only do it that way.
Yeah.
Petition by popular vote. It's not a petition by popular vote. Multi-purpose hearings. It's not a multi-purpose hearing. Unorganized towns and goers. And gores. Again, it talks, but we're an organized town and we're not a gore. Time for, if the proposed bylaw amendment or repeal is not approved or rejected under the subsection C of the section within 1 year of the date of the filing of the planning commission, it shall be considered disapproved unless 5% of the voters of the municipality petition for a meeting of the municipality to consider the bylaw amendment or repeal, and the petition is filed within 60 days of the end of that year. In that case, a meeting of the municipality shall be duly warned for the purpose of acting upon the bylaw. Again, it's not the case. It is not a ordinance, it doesn't come under the 3 readings rule. It would be a motion. The report has been given to the town. The amendment is for the Weathersfield zoning bylaws proposed by the Weathersfield Planning Commission. The proposal, as Brian stated, is to amend Article 2 of the zoning districts and standards for the purposes stated by the land use administrator. An amendment to Article 7 definitions was also proposed, which correlates with the changes in Article 2. This was the adding of words. It conforms or furthers the goals and policies contained within the municipal plan, including the effect of the proposal on the availability of safe and affordable housing. The proposed amendments make little change to the substance of the bylaws and have no effect on the bylaws' conformance with the town plan, and will have no effect on the availability of affordable housing. Is it compatible with the proposed future land uses and densities in the municipal plan? The proposed amendments will have no impact on the current compatibility with the proposed future land uses and densities of the town. Carries out as applicable any specific proposals for any planned community facilities. The proposed amendments have no applicability to any specific proposals for any planned community facilities. The Planning Commission held their hearing. It was then sent up here within the time required. So what I need is just a title. Ryan, if you can help me out, I need a title on these bylaws.
The title of the section.
Yeah, I need a motion to approve the
Article
bylaw.
2 is the zoning districts and district standards.
Okay,
And Article 7's definition.
and Article 7 is definitions. So we need a motion to amend Article 2 and Article 7, use tables and definitions accordingly. And this applies to the Weathersfield zoning bylaws. Do I hear that motion?
I have a question before that.
Go ahead.
So my memory from any one of these zoning issues would be the board has that choice, but the board also has the choice to say that the voters shall make that action, right? It's a possibility. I'm not going down that road, but it is a possibility. I would have liked to have seen the exact thing written out here where it says, you know, this is, the planning board went through the hearing process, like the caption of what you did. We held a meeting here which disclosed the proposed bylaw amendments at the select board, which is a legislative body. Therefore, we gave opportunity for you're closing the whole thing in summary. Then there's a motion to accept the proposed changes in the Weathersfield zoning bylaws under section, what, two? I don't even know.
2 and 7.
2 and 7, as documented through the hearing process of the planning commission and then forwarded to the select board for consideration.
That sounds good to me. Do I hear a second?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Well, I just want to cover the whole.
No, that's
So
good. No, that's,
if there's a question, if somebody comes in and says, we didn't have that chance, oh no, on August whatever, you
had
gotta,
a
you gotta
hearing.
make these dates down.
yeah, Mike and Dave.
Mike did read some of that through, but Dave put it all in the one
Yes.
paragraph, which was nice, so, and I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the amendments to the zoning bylaws. Is there any further discussion?
The only thing can I make one comment?
Sure.
I just wanna thank everyone we've had an awful lot of, people from the public that have helped, recently and have been present at the planning commission. I just wanna, thank those people for their input and their help. It's greatly appreciated.
It certainly is. Any further discussion on the amendments?
Are we amending or adopting?
Well, this is an amendment. We're adopting an amendment to the zoning bylaws.
Which is where I was going. This board has the authority to do that.
Yes, it
The
does.
only other persons that have the authority to do that is the voters at
That's
town meeting.
That's correct.
So we would have had to warn an article for the town meeting to adopt these. It would have been up or down.
And to your point, the planning commission held a hearing, closed a hearing, sent it to the select board. The select board held a hearing, closed the hearing, and then we waited an extra meeting
Yes.
to allow extra time for anybody to come in and have input on this. And we verified that we've heard nothing else.
And land use and the town manager have heard nothing, so, okay.
And just to clarify, this really was just a housekeeping thing. This is basically like a table of contents and some definitions that needed to be added or corrected. And that's all it was. The zoning administrator made it clear the substance of the zoning bylaws did not change, just the organization like the chapter, the table of contents. Any further discussion on the motion?
One more. So it says on our agenda, it says continue to public hearing on the zoning bylaws. Do we first, prior to the, was this technically a hearing?
No, the hearing
Okay.
was closed before. I
Okay,
closed the
good.
hearing before.
Good, because the agenda says,
No, that was a miss.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Thank you for
All set.
clarifying that, though.
Yeah, that should have been corrected there. I apologize for not catching that, because I did see this. Okay. Yes, and I will state again, the public hearing was closed 2 meetings ago. I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, any further comments or discussion on the zoning bylaw changes? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye? Wendy?
Aye.
Thank you, Wendy. The motion is unanimous. The motion carries. Fiscal '23 year-end reserve transfers. Brandon, you're up.
Yeah, Steve Heyer wasn't able to make this meeting tonight, so he's prepared in your packet a memo for end of FY '23 transfers to and from reserves. And basically what he did is he stated most of these transfers fall into the must-do category, and he noted that he fully understands the frustration of asking a board to approve something when they really have no choice in the matter. Why even ask for approval if it is a must-do? And basically, that's a combination of the way we budget certain revenues and the fact that the auditors will look for board approval on transfers that do not match specifically budgeted dollar amounts. So if you go to the next page, you'll see a breakout of the reserve transfers. Can everybody see that on their iPads? It's vault fees, computerization, preservation, voting equipment. Those four are in the town clerk's budget. And then we have the Parks and Recreation transfer, property reappraisal, which is the money we receive from the state per parcel to do a reappraisal. So it's $15,808 there. Aid to residents in need, conservation, rabies, and then the unspecified reserve, which had no activity last year. That's our rainy day fund, of $121,000.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
So when you read up at the top, we've got a yellow bar, right, it says balance of transfer, right?
Yes.
So if we take vault fees, 190845 is in parentheses, is that minus? We don't want to do anything with that, right? Because that's already been done, or what? We're going one way or another way, so.
So that is a minus. They already transferred $5,500. That's the amount that was budgeted, but the amount that came in was only $3,591. So basically, what we're doing is pushing that balance back out into the balance of that reserve account.
So does the motion say for computerization, we're going to vote tonight to transfer 2244 into that reserve account?
Correct.
Okay, so why are we seeing some in parentheses then? Is that like we're gonna take it out? We're authorizing the take out of that?
So vault fee, that's the amount so the amount of revenue that was, and that's kind of what Steve was saying, is we budgeted $5,500 for revenue for vault fees, but then only $35.91.55 came in. So it's actually $19.08.45 less than what was budgeted in revenue to go into that reserve account.
It just seems like we're doing two different things. We're asking for, somebody expended 1908.45, so that's being minus from that account, and we're adding we're adding 1195.12 to Parks and Rec, right? We're not subtracting that.
Yes, $11.95.12 is going to Parks and Rec. So they had a budget of $1,500, but they only spent $304.88. So the balance is $11.95.12, and that would be added to their reserve account.
What I'm trying to just understand is how we do a motion. So do you want each one individually, and do we motion take money out of something or put something in, or is each one just a motion to transfer that amount in that column to? That's what we're.
Yeah,
How can you transfer a negative?
the treasurer provided a similar sheet last year, which was. Do you want me to take a look at the minutes?
No,
Okay.
Oh, I'm thinking that we have funds in the general fund, and then we would transfer to reserves.
Dave, I'm on board with you. I'm usually pretty good at coming up with a motion, usually.
It'd be one way.
But I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, what do we?
In other words, we're transferring a negative $513.65 total.
I think somebody spent that money, and maybe they spent too much, and they need to have that taken out of the reserve. It's two different motions. You're depositing into the reserves, but it seems like there's some 3 or 4 accounts that have come out of the reserves.
So the way, let me see if there were any negatives last year. There was a negative last year. It was $7,000 from the rainy day fund. And let me just take a peek, September 6th of last year.
The only expense that I recall from that fund was the salt shed.
Okay, so his opening paragraph is, it's time again to balance out a series of transfers between the general fund and various town reserve funds at the end of fiscal year 23. The attached spreadsheet summarizes the transfers that need to be done. This year, the net result is $513.65 being transferred out of the reserve funds and into the general fund. That's the net result.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Most of these transfers fall into the must-do category. I fully understand the frustration. You've already read that. Let's go down the transfers and addressed each of them. Vault fees, computerization, preservation funds established by the voters, such as fees charged for those purposes, go into the reserve funds, and expenses for those purposes would come out of the reserve fund. The way the town has always handled these is for the revenue to be recorded in the general fund budget and then transferred to the reserve funds. In 2 cases, we have already transferred an estimated amount of revenue as included in the budget. During fiscal year '23, actual revenue for both of those was less than budgeted, so we needed to move money back into the general fund. So I see what he's saying. So yes, Dave, you're right. Those negatives are money we have to remove from the reserve accounts and move them back to the general fund. The property reappraisal transfer represents a state grant for that purpose, which is again budgeted as a revenue in the general fund and then transferred to the reserve fund each year. So we estimate the amount of the grant and transfer that budgeted estimate early in the year. Since the estimate is never exact, when we have to adjust, we then have to adjust that transfer to reflect the actual amount of the grant. If fiscal year '23, we have already done that.
I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Okay, go.
That we just read these, as they are.
Yes.
The balance of the transfer.
Yes.
Negative 1908.45 vault fees,
Yes,
so forth, go down the list as
Yes.
a net result of 513.65, and then somebody can second it and we move on.
very good.
The treasurer has done this,
Yes.
it's fine,
It makes sense.
He itemized the separate accounts that we need to do. I'm gonna make the motion.
Go.
I'm gonna make the motion that we transfer these amounts either positively or negatively to the reserve accounts as noted by the treasurer on August, what day is today? For our meeting tonight, the 21st, 2023. Number 1, the vault fees, this is the balance of the transfer, negative 1908.45. Computerization of records, positive 2244. Preservation, must be records again, Brandon?
Yes.
Negative 778. Parks and Recreation, transfer to reserve 1195.12. Positive. Aid to residents in need, a negative transfer of $1,615.32. The rabies fund, positive $349 even, for a net total of a negative $513.65. Now, all of these are noted by the treasurer in these reserve accounts. That doesn't mean that the balance is negative, and the balances have all been noted here, the fund balances on the right-hand column.
Correct.
Dave, this is exactly how you did it last year. I found the minutes from October 17th. But instead of a negative, you called it a debit.
Okay.
So last year you said a debit of $7,051.89 from the unspecified reserves rainy day fund, so.
Do I hear a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Dave.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay, Brandon, when we get, I don't know if we're gonna talk about ARPA or anything tonight, later on. So it'd be really helpful, because I know that we've got lists of the ARPA funds, what we may or may not disperse, but if you look at the right-hand column here, the fund balances of the reserve accounts,
Yep.
you might wanna keep that up for us, because we are, discussing records and, work like that, so we already have, okay, I saw that amount and I'm saying, boy, there's some serious money somewhere on the way in, already in the reserve accounts. So when we get to ARPA, I don't know.
So everyone has a paper copy of the reserve funds, and then also a paper copy of the transfers that were made today.
One more question.
Yes, sir, go.
Do you know, the very first one, this isn't for this meeting, but I'm curious, what are considered vault fees? Is that the town clerk's fees that she charges for the records or whatever somebody comes in?
Yep, and that's generally charged to the attorneys that are doing the legal research.
I don't know if anybody else knows, but that's a surprising number that's in that fund balance. $74,000 is sitting there.
Yep.
And when we were talking about computerization of records and everything, and then we're charging either attorneys or ourselves for fees out of our own information from the vault. Seems like a lot of money and sitting there waiting to go to records. That's just.
That's a good point.
I agree.
I don't-
That's a very good
And
point.
it's not just preserving, because the third line down says preserving, so there's another 29,000 for.
And there's, and almost 18,000 for computerization.
So if you want to, you know, a lot of it is that I think the vault is, sensitive to temperature, to keep the records. I think there's some issues there with paper, you know, you don't want them
Yeah.
all to go bad, the records. So you can see that, but that's not what that's, I don't know. I think we should go on.
I agree. Next up. Board of Listers, errors and omissions to the grand list. I don't see a lister here tonight.
I can take it, I can take the memo on. So whereas the last one was reducing our grand list, this one is increasing our grand list. We added 2 solar projects to our grand list. One solar project for $591,000 and a second solar project for $662,600. It's a net difference of around $8,000 on the grand list, but since we reduced it in the last meeting, it's a net difference of around $5,000.
Move to approve the lister errors and omissions to the grand list.
Are you a second?
I'll second.
We gotta note the date, August 8th, 2023.
Second still can't hold?
Yeah.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the errors and omissions from the listers. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go.
Was this under some other time other than the other information to be gathered to do the grand list? Because this is a month or two after we set, or not even,
Yeah.
5 weeks after we set the tax rate.
Yeah.
This amount would have made our taxes cheaper. That's point one. And point 2 would be, when these are added now, do they pay 11 months of the do these get a tax bill now?
Yep.
Okay.
So these, after the board approves it tonight, if it does, a bill will go out. The ball was in the state's court. They have to do all the paperwork in order to add them to our grand list. And we just received this information from the state a couple of weeks ago, I believe actually last week, that the paperwork's been completed and we can now put it on our grand list. It was a little late. It's a third of a penny.
A little late from who? From us or from them?
We submitted these back in December, I believe.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so this error wasn't here. This didn't, I mean, the error happens, and it happens here, but I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying. It was no fault here. It just,
So,
it is.
so they get a total, they get an education tax bill and a town tax bill. They will.
I'm not sure on the
I'm not-
education
I'm
side.
not sure they get an education tax. I think
I
that's
believe it's
exempted
municipal.
under state law.
It is. I don't know.
I think it is. On the solar generating sites there, I believe. We had that discussion. Check into that, Brendan.
Yep.
Okay, next up.
I don't think we voted, did we?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Motion-
Aye.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Everybody's in. A Scotney Fire Department hose replacement.
Do you want me to go through the background and Darren, then you can take on some of the findings? Okay. So on Monday, August 14th, an industrial analyst conducted a Scotney Fire's annual hose testing. The test basically involves hooking up their hose to their pump system, and then they boost up the pressure to 400 pounds, which is required by NFPA to determine whether a hose fails. A hose fails the test when there is water coming out of any section of the hose, or the hose pulls away from the coupling fitting itself. A Scotney Fire also conducted their annual ladder testing through the same company, and this test involves basically placing the ladder between 2 beams and putting a 500-pound block on top of it. to see if it bends. And a ladder fails when the rivets pull away from the ladder and rung, and when they take the weight off and there's bending in the ladder. Findings, I'll let you go ahead and take this, Darren.
All right. So, the last 3 years, we've had the hose tested by the fail safe testing company. And back in 2021, we lost 4 lengths of 3-inch hose. No big deal. It was old. 2022, we didn't lose a single piece of hose. And then Monday, as they were testing, we lost 11 pieces of hose, and 6 they wouldn't even test because they were 40 plus years old. So that comes up to be a total of 21 lengths of hose, excuse me, that we lost. So what they're, if you look at NFPA, your first run trucks, the hose is supposed to be replaced every 10 years. You take them off the truck, put them on your rack. So if you get another call, you take them off until your good stuff is dry and swap it back out. You're supposed to be used for hose more than 20 years. And if you look at on page 2, we have we have a lot of hose that is over 30 years old, 21 years old. Some is 30 years old. This stuff is getting dragged through oil, diesel, gas, getting run over on roads by arrogant drivers. It's getting dragged through buildings, going across glass and hazardous conditions. And we had this done to cover our butt and the town's butt for safety purposes. So right now, we don't have enough hose. If we were to get a call to put hose back on our 2 trucks, I had to take hose off the ladder truck to finish filling out the 2-inch.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
If anything's passed tonight, how long does it take to get in hose?
It all depends. Stock. Some of it's up to, you can get it in 30, 60 days. Some of it you can get within 9 months. It's tough right now.
Okay.
But, with that being said, but I don't want you guys to hang your hat on this. I've talked to some area chiefs, and they have spare hose that we can borrow for a limited time. But if we damage it, we gotta buy them hose.
Yeah. No, that's what I was worried about, was
And
the
it's
timing.
it's a good question.
The timing, so I mean,
One of the things I told Brandon, we lost 3 lengths of 4-inch. I'm not worried about that. That's almost $900 a roll. The hose on our trucks, some of that 4-inch is 17 years old. So in 3 years, we gotta start thinking about replacing that.
all your ladders are fine, right?
No. So, one of the testing, and it's on the ladder of the truck that we'll talk about that's being sold. Could be sold tonight if you guys give the approval. I have talked to the chief about it. If you guys accept his offer, he knows that ladder's junk. He has another ladder to put it on, but you need that, the ladder that failed, you need that to hold both ladders up on the truck.
Okay.
That's out of service.
So I didn't, either proposal here, I didn't see anything for ladder, so I just wanted to make sure.
No, that's a good question. It's,
Okay.
Noted.
Can we get through the hose first?
Yeah, sorry.
So when I look at the 2 conclusions here, one says buy some, the other one says buy more. What are we supposed to do?
So proposal number 1 included replacement of the 21 hoses. So it would be a motion to replace 53 pieces of 1.75-inch hose from Reynolds for a total of $13,024 from the firefighting equipment and gear reserve fund. And then motion to replace 6 pieces of 3-inch hose from MES for a total of $2,151. That proposal is $15,000 and would leave the reserve account with $13,467. Proposal number 2 is to replace 42 links with 36 pieces of 1.75 inch and 6 pieces of the 3 inch.
Go ahead.
Quick question, and I'm sorry, I should probably know this, and I just wanna ask this. So out of this, fire equipment and gear reserve fund, that's for the whole town, that's for both the fire departments, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's what's left in there. I'm just curious if Scottney's done their, validation of the hoses, it must be a certain
West
time of the
Weathersfield,
year.
you mean?
No, Scottney just did this one.
Yes.
Right, did West Weathersfield do theirs already? Are they good? Are they gonna? I don't know if it's the same time for both departments or,
They test their own, we have company do it.
yeah, when do they test theirs?
I'm pretty sure they just recently did it a few months ago. I did not talk to Josh about this.
Question number 1.
Yes.
Why do we have 2 proposals? I mean, if you're out a certain amount of hose, I think that.
I can speak on
No,
that.
that's okay. The second one was, how much is in the entire reserve account anyway?
28,164.
The balance will be 13, if you do the first one, the balance will be 13,467 in that equipment and gear reserve fund.
Yep.
So my question would be, what Paul was just asking about hose, where's the west side? They got any hose they need replaced?
I haven't been made aware of any.
Does this account also, this is used for gear reserve? What about turnouts? Are we looking at turnout gear anywhere this year?
We have, as I told Brandon, I've got 1.5 sets in my budget that jumped up, it's skyrocketed again. So right now, I'm sticking within my.
Okay, all right. All right, it's in the budget, so you don't need the reserve. And I hate this, this is the wonderful question. You don't anticipate any other, you never know, but,
It's like this hose, who would have thought? I mean, I knew it was getting old, I mean.
well, it's getting old, so. Okay,
Well, no, I think that you can anticipate, and this is true of not just hose, but maybe equipment, that there'd be a certain amount that needs to be thought about every year. It looks like you skipped 21, and so that's not a good picture. So it would have evened out the playing field if it was like 8, 8, 8, 8, 8 or
Correct.
something. So don't skip a year. Is there any list of any, I'm concerned about draining the reserve account
Yeah,
a lot.
me too.
I don't think that this is going to be over, because some things happen, and
well,
this
yes.
year, or I don't know what, some things happen. Was there any fire issues listed on the ARPA money funds for discussion?
Just stipends at this time. That's the only fire thing that has been brought forward. Now, we have spent some money out of ARPA for fire. Take a peek. So we have,
The board should know this, the ARPA funds cannot be placed in a reserve account. So I hate to mix and match this discussion, but it's a significant amount of money to be unbudgeted, to be allocated out. So we either take it out of the reserve account, the thing about that is, you can't put the ARPA funds back into a reserve account. It needs to be expended for an item. Anything.
Yeah, so you take it from the ARPA and just use it.
You can buy a new set of flags out of the ARPA funds. You can buy the handrail, but it cannot be placed in a reserve account for future expenses. You have to.
Well, another way to look at it is we might say we want 1 penny in a reserve account. That would be approximately $34,000. You can't take $34,000 out of ARPA and spend 17 of it or 15 of it.
Right.
And then let the other just sit there. You can't do that.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because probably it's reasonable to think that under the current coming up budget season that we would be considering putting some money if we don't have a different way of funding this. It's reasonable to think that.
So we've spent 20,000 on the fire departments through ARPA to date. To answer your question, some of it was firefighting gear. The rest of it was a washing machine extractor.
Wow, what's the board's wishes on this? Darren, what was the reason for doing this in two proposals?
The reason was, as Brandon and I had talked, I didn't want to wipe out the reserve. I mean, I'm a taxpayer too, and it would wipe out of who knows what's gonna happen later on down the road, firefighting. So that was the reason we decided to break it down, to see what you guys would recommend. Then next year, we'd have to come to get the other half, if you will.
How does that affect you in your services? Is that doable?
It's
Or is-
doable, yeah, I'm willing to work with you guys. This came as a wicked surprise after not getting any hose failed last year and 6 the year before.
Yeah,
I mean, next year he could come in and test it, and some of the hose that was tested was like 2014 and 15 that failed. It wasn't like it was some of the oldest stuff out there. It was some old stuff, but not some of the new stuff.
Can I make a motion?
you may.
I make a motion that we take $15,175 out of our ARPA funds to pay for hose that's needed for the fire department.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? This is to take $15,000 from ARPA. So where's the other $175 coming from?
$15,175, I said.
Okay.
Yeah, she said the phone now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing some numbers here.
Yep.
Okay, so that leaves the reserve account alone. Brendan, any comments on that?
No.
Any discussion?
I just have one quick question, and Darren, this question quickly for you is, with this, motion to replace the 53 pieces of 1 3/4 inch hose and then the 6 pieces of the 3-inch hose, setting aside the 4-inch that you talked about, does this put you at normal operating capacity of your hoses?
Yes.
Full, okay, so then the 4-inch is something separate.
That's
Later
something
on.
separate for
Okay,
budget talks.
so you're where you feel that you should be and the firehouse normally would be, so,
Yes.
yes, good.
Any further discussion on the motion?
I just have one other comment. So this, I'm glad you did that, Kelly. Because Brandon had not checked with the west side, that we are slowly but surely determining the need and the priorities of whatever the ARPA funds are, protecting the reserve accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big deal. So if the west side has something, now's the time for us to hear that. So I want him to reach out to make sure that the equipment or whatever to protect the town is in place when we go through the list of setting whatever we're doing. That's my last comment.
You weren't able to get a hold of Josh today?
I did not get a hold of Josh today. I'll call him tomorrow.
Because we did talk about that today. Anyway. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Motion is to take $15,175 out of ARPA and use it to purchase the necessary hose replacements for a Scotty fire. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Wendy?
Aye.
Thank you, Wendy. Motion carries, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Again, though, I know we're moving to the next one, but I cannot believe that they expect to do that to the ladder and then expect it to be just normal after.
I know.
They put a level on it, they level everything up, and then
Afterwards, they
I
do
showed
the same.
Brandon the rivets that snapped.
Yeah, it was pretty neat to
How
watch.
much weight is that?
500 pounds.
So what
Well, I can be a
firefighter,
firefighter.
what firefighter do you have? I don't know if I can ask this question.
Okay, I'll answer it, 'cause I know where you're going with that. So,
We
you
got
put a fire,
two
I'm
guys.
I'm 210 pounds, okay? You put an air pack, all your gear, so you're gonna be pushing 250, 260?
Yeah.
And you have to take someone down a ladder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See, this is why you do that and I
You
don't.
don't take them down the ladder, you throw them.
Don't you have those things out like they do in New York?
How much is a bouncy house? Can we get a used bouncy house? You can,
All right, sorry, I
lest we
dragged us down.
digress. Darren, thank you for, we know that, you know, you guys put your lives on the line every, you know, well, maybe not every time it goes ding ding, but, you know, you never know. So thank you.
Fire truck.
Sale of a Scotty fire truck, engine one. I hear we're getting $80,000 for this?
There you go, thinking.
Well, that gets people's attention.
So what I did after we had talked, you guys gave us the approval to advertise it. I advertised it on a national level through Fire Tech, and haven't heard a word from anybody. They started off at $25,999. Within a month and a half, they dropped it down to $19.99. Still nothing. And to this day, haven't heard a thing. So 2 weeks ago, the West Fairleigh deputy stopped down to pick up his load of foam. He wanted to know if I knew any trucks that were for sale that were in good shape. I said, "It's your lucky day."
Yeah.
So I took him over behind the ladder truck and he looked at it. And he said, "Boy, this might do what they're looking for." And I told him it'd be less the siren and less the lights because those are going on the new truck. And he goes, "Yeah, well, it's gotta be under, it can't be over 9'3", and with the light bar on it, it was 9'4". So they came down that following Sunday, test drove it, pumped it, loved it. They went back a week later, had a meeting with the membership, and they offered $8,000 for that truck.
My only question to Brandon when I heard all of this, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, was when we talk about moving to having some tankers in town, where's that put the chassis on this thing?
You guys can get the pictures?
No.
So, the new truck's got the pump and everything mounted, the body and
No,
tank.
not talking about the new one.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this one being used in the future for, could the chassis from this one be used to turn it into a tanker?
The one that we're selling,
Yeah,
or the town selling.
yeah.
The frame's been stretched on it, but they wanna use it for a regular
Okay.
pump room.
Well, that's what my question was, is there something here that was salvageable to us that would, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that chassis, you know, when you go to buy one, you don't buy a tanker, you buy a chassis and then you have them put stuff on it.
Right.
And that part alone is a couple $100,000, right? Yeah. Pretty close. So that was the reason for me asking that. Are we selling something that may have some value to us, but it sounds like you're saying no.
To answer your question, you probably would have to have either Scott Reed or Dingy come over and take a look at it, see what the rust situation is underneath it, and see if they can take out the 2-foot piece of metal that they put in it, shrink it down to make it a shorter turning radius of the vehicle. There's no computers on it, so that's a good thing.
It
so
doesn't doesn't sound like that was part of the consideration anyway then. So, what's the board's preference on this? Or do we have a motion?
I just have one question. You're behind this? The way-
Sell it?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
the way it is and there's much money in.
The only thing I told the gentleman is
The ladder's broke.
middle, yeah, he knows that. It's, I told him we wouldn't be able to get it probably the middle of October, and we might be short a truck for a month, maybe, but there's enough mutual aid, and Larry's got loaners, so. if need be.
I don't like holding on to stuff, but I'm a little surprised that I think that this is the picture that we're gonna be facing. I'm surprised that a town in Vermont is gonna use this as a fire truck. And they're gonna pay $8,000 for it, and they're gonna get life out of it. And we gave up, because we said, it's not any good. And as the cost of these rise to $500,000 and the interest gets up to 5, we're gonna be that town that says, is that good enough for us to keep?
Go ahead, Darren.
The department that's interested in it, they run 30, 40 calls a year. We're pushing 388. And we're going with more water.
What do you wanna do?
I don't wanna keep stuff. I mean, I think the,
I'll make a motion that we sell it.
I mean, it's sad to see the price.
yeah,
It really is. I mean, I was shocked when I saw it. I like the $30,000 number, but didn't happen.
But how long do you hang on to trying to get that, and then before you know it, if you don't get all the water out, it freezes this winter?
Plus, we're helping probably another town out too, so I'm gonna make a motion that we go with a recommendation to sell the 1995 chassis 1996 body engine 1 to Fairleigh Vermont Fire Department for a total of $8,000.
as is where is.
As is, yes, as seen as is.
Do I hear a second?
Yes.
Motion's been made and seconded to sell the 1995 chassis, body, engine 1 to Fairleigh, Vermont, Department at $8,000, as is, where is. Any further discussion?
Yes.
West,
West Fairleigh.
it's
What?
West Fairleigh, Vermont, just so we get a kiss.
West Fairleigh, Vermont.
West Fairleigh.
Okay.
Funds to be deposited in the truck wheel fund, fire truck wheel fund.
Yeah. Yeah, that money will go, the money received for the truck will go into the wheel
Goes
fund.
into wheel fund, correct.
Yes. So that's, okay, so that's added to the motion.
Fine, yeah, the money
And
to
a
go into
second,
the
so
wheels.
Dave made the second anyway.
Yep.
Okay, so you got that, where the money's going. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Darren.
You're welcome. Thanks again, Darren.
Thank you, and Brandon, you and I'll get hooked up on bills, so.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Town manager update. Town manager update. Good night, Darren.
thank you.
All right, so I have a couple of things. The town garage roof replacement project is completed. And I climbed up there with Ira, and it looks really good. I have some pictures and so forth, and we'll have an inspection report. We also signed an amendment to our West Weathersfield Fire Department roof replacement project contract, and that's just to extend the completion date to September 30th, 23. We have a plan, and Josh Doffin and Connecticut River Roofing will be working together on the inside of the building. The weather hasn't been cooperating this summer for roofing projects. They need a long stretch of no rain in order to do the project, and we haven't, as you know, received long stretches of no rain, so it kind of slowed things down, but 2 projects down, one more to go. Indus has been notified that they were awarded the crack sealing project. They anticipate completion in September. I talked to Blacktop Paving last week, and they'll be moving forward with that the first week of September after Labor Day for paving on Sunset Boulevard, Cherry Lane, and Thrasher Road. Renaud Brothers was notified that they were awarded the Upper Falls Covered Bridge project, and that'll be done before the end of October. We started efforts to relocate the generator adjacent to the shed in the back of the Martin Memorial Hall parking lot. I talked to Brookfield Service today, and they'll have an estimate to me by tomorrow, so we'll discuss it at the next select board meeting. They said it's not a problem to move it. They're still recommending 1,000-pound propane tank, 1,000-gallon propane tank, and he said at the minimum he would do 500. So he said some propane companies won't even hook it up if it doesn't have the amount of propane that it needs to operate.
Our propane company is Irving, correct?
Correct.
Contact them,
Yep, I
talk
will.
to their engineers.
Yeah, I plan to have the whole package ready for the next meeting. There's a little bit of delay in getting the estimate from Brookfield. I believe Jim was on vacation for a little bit, and he just flew. He was actually flying back today when I talked to him. So we'll have that estimate tomorrow.
So the board knows, my brother has a generator with a 300-pound tank sitting over behind his garage. He's never run out, and I can get numbers from him. I'll compare it to the size and what the need would be. And I also have accounts with Irving and can get inside to somebody there too.
Yeah, and you know, tomorrow we're going to be having a call with him, so you're welcome to jump on that call with him and you can kind of talk about propane and so forth.
Okay, dial me in.
Select board meeting on September 4th. It's Labor Day, so we would need to move that to September 5th. And that would be our next meeting.
You want to do the rest of this and we'll come back to that, or you want, I'm writing it down now.
Yeah, that sounds good. Storm damage and FEMA funding, so we completed the RPA, the request for public assistance, through FEMA on 8/14. We held our exploratory call today at 1:30 p.m. and they've given us a bunch of tasks to do and some sheets to fill out, and then we're going to have our in-person meeting, and that's scheduled 2 weeks from today. So it's moving along. It's just a little bit slow. We did include the bridges. So they have two categories, under $1 million or more than $1 million, and we did push it and bump it into the over $1 million category to try to fit those two bridges in. Reappraisal update. So I distributed the notice of award to NEMC to do our town reappraisal. They're excited to start the process, and they don't anticipate starting until May or June of 2024. Assessor services update. Nemrick currently provides assessor services to Weathersfield, and that's Nemrick with an R. Since Nemk without the R will be doing our reappraisal, Nemrick has decided they no longer want to provide assessor services to our town. According to Nemrick, there is an ongoing overlap between assessment services and completing a reappraisal. These are not mutually exclusive activities. No company completing a reappraisal wants their competition watching how they complete a reappraisal. The company doing assessment services does not want to ever defend the work of a different company. Nemrick did agree to provide assessor services until the 2024 grand list is lodged, and then after that, our agreement is void. I asked Nemrick if they could provide these services, and they said probably not. But they're willing to discuss it during our kickoff meeting. Many of our surrounding towns are in the same situation, so this isn't unique to Weathersfield. I believe 4 of our surrounding towns are also in the market for an assessor. So we're going to have those conversations. I have a town manager meeting this Wednesday at 3:30 with all the town managers in the area, and we're going to be discussing some things and probably assessing. And in the next meeting, I'll re-update the board with where we're going. Or Highway number 95 conclusion. The finding and decisions document has been completed. It was signed by the chair, sent over to the town clerk. The order was also sent to the requester, all persons that attended the hearing, and abutters. A copy of this has also been attached to the report, so that's the final report inside the packet. Village Wastewater Committee. So when Otter Creek Engineering came in, I think a month ago, the recommendation was to commit a 3-person Village Wastewater Committee. So that's now on the select board agenda, and it's been added to the appointment volunteer application on the website. So if anyone's interested in joining the Village Wastewater Committee, I think we already have 2 people that are interested.
I think one.
Oh, just one person? Who is that? Okay. So that'll be on the next agenda.
Stop it.
No, I've got a comment to make about the wastewater committee.
Well, let's, hang on, let's come back down to it. You're all set now, Brendan?
Yep, I'm all done.
Okay, so first thing I want to do is go back to select board meeting on September the 4th. I need a motion to move that meeting to Tuesday, September the 5th at 6:30 here at Martin Memorial Hall, as Labor Day is September 4th, is on a Monday.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Wendy.
And I do have one more thing, but I'll let you go through the list first.
Any discussion, okay. Any discussion on the roof projects? Any discussion on storm damage FEMA funding? I just caught somewhere there, something to do with the drainage here, that you had skipped over the, RFQ, I think that you're putting out for
It's under
that.
the Renaud Brothers section,
Okay,
it's the third paragraph down.
okay, good. Assessor services update. Any discussion on that?
Yes.
Go.
Well, let's get back to the storm damage.
Go.
The farm, you know, the proposal that I had forward, I haven't really formalized that, but any farm help is a disaster right now. There's no money being allocated. There's a lot of photo ops, politicians love that, walking around saying, yeah, isn't this a mess? But according to the Farm Service Agency today, they're looking for guidance on what might or might not happen. They want you to take a loan out through SBA or other things, and I'm done with loans. So that's not working. I've been in contact with Peter Welch's office, and to make a long story short, with all of this going on for funding, we can all look happy about it, including for $1 million bridges and everything, but believe it or not, the federal government doesn't have any money. And the federal government's budget year end is up 9/30. The new year begins on October 1st. So you might see some wheels turning after October 1st because generally speaking, they put disaster monies in new budgets. It hasn't been a disaster yet. But when you look at the news and everything, I mean, everybody's a disaster now. Now California is, Hawaii burnt, and so forth. So I really don't know what Vermont will be getting or not getting. I did hear today through the RFD channel that there was it's really peculiar how this all happens, but the Agency of Agriculture, believe it or not, distributes broadband money. And there's some big bill now that's going to be nationwide helping out broadband. I don't know how they do it. It's like the Agency of Agriculture also, the Bureau of Weights and Measures, you can go up to Downers or to gas stations, see the little stickers that says that they're the ones that regulate that kind of thing. It's strange. So,
All comes back to corn?
I don't know what it does. So the disaster has happened, but nothing has happened. If I move to assessor, I've made it very clear to Brandon what I'm in favor of. And if I'm reading the first paragraph correctly, I really like it when somebody tells me that after the 24 grand list is large, if I'm taking this word for word, and after that, they will be voiding our agreement with them. What does that mean? They will be voiding our agreement with us?
I'm sorry, I was probably typing a little too quick. Yes.
So they're saying, we don't like you anymore, you're fired. They're saying that to us. Okay, I really like it when somebody says that to me, because like yesterday I would have said, well, you're fired. Yeah.
So I will be investigating what you've asked me to investigate to determine whether that would be a possibility.
And the proposal that I said was that we should be entertaining the idea of bringing back, I like the idea of having somebody, if they're interested, to provide much more of, particularly with a reappraisal coming up, to be much more face-to-face recognized about, because there's gonna be some people that are gonna come in and grieve. The listers are very important. And they're the first group that where a appeal is made. So in other words, somebody will say, you're worth 200,000, and the person says, no, I'm only worth 50. So when you have an assessor who's located in, I don't know where,
Tennessee?
wherever, it's not a good picture. So my suggestion was that we go back and see if any former listers would like to work on a contract basis, which would provide them much more than an hourly rate. and that might help.
And just quickly on that, we can do that even though they're appointed position, because nobody's there, so we can vote that person into that seat, right?
I'm not sure you could call him a lister, I'm thinking you could be a contractor that has to do with that
Oh,
work.
okay.
Contract
All right,
was an
just
assessor.
A different name, okay.
But,
perfect.
as long as you keep remember the document that Sven gave us? It listed like 4
right,
possibilities with the
yeah.
assessor and lister thing. As long as you
Overlap.
keep your listers, you can overlap with an assessor, so that what Dave is talking about would be possible.
Well, we
Yeah.
can't get rid of the listers, only by a vote of the people.
That's what I was
right.
getting at, that there was things there.
Then we don't necessarily want it, I didn't
No.
really want to, I just,
But there were things we could do without going to the voters.
Let's face it, through the history, I mean, I've been here for a really long time, and the history is, there's been times when some people have served for a long time, and they're very valuable, they know the history.
Yeah.
They know property transfers from 3 times ago, so that you don't have to go run the records.
They know the system, they know the timing of the system.
the locations.
There's lots of things,
It's really
well,
important.
we had things we dealt with earlier this evening. I'm not blaming anybody, but we did a lot less of these errors in the past.
And I'm not saying that something doesn't come up. If I move down to wastewater, this is a really big deal, and I'm really happy that Anne Marie has jumped in, because I said something to somebody else who I was visiting with, and they said, no, that's not what we want. There is a genuine thought with regard to septic in this town that it's going to be something that is all encompassing, meaning a house is on a lot, a line is underground, and your wastewater disappears. That is not, and I repeat, not what Otter Creek is studying for the village of Ascutney or Perkinsville. What the systems that they're both studying is that the landowners will be responsible for their tanks, and that there will be a giant property located somewhere that will be a big leach field. That is totally not what I'm running into people thinking that this is. And when
Well,
I asked that directly of the guy that presented that, he goes, oh, no, that's not what we're studying, that would be like way more money. So I just want people to understand that it's, if you look at the geography of Perkinsville, it won't happen. I mean, I own the biggest field there, and it just got 8 feet of water on it in the village. So there's no area in Perkinsville that I'm aware of that could take a 20 acre leach field that would be able to be pumped into from tanks. That's why when he said he was going around to these landowners here in Ascutney, he's already gone to see Peter Jarvis. No, see you later, I don't wanna do that. So I just want us to regroup and see what this is doing with this wastewater, and is it really what we're after, or is this gonna be a giant surprise for the residents?
Well, what you're saying is a giant surprise to me, because there's a wastewater feasibility study. I also thought basically what you're saying is not true, that it's all encompassing. It's gonna look at all possibilities.
I think that presentation that was made to us was, that's why
I think
they
he
was.
put an emphasis on that, but I wasn't aware that that was the only thing that was gonna be presented as,
I asked
you know,
that.
where does it go?
Well, my vision was that it was going to be a plant like Ludlow or Cavendish. It was going to be.
It could be.
Yeah, but he said that, no, he said, nope, that's not what we're looking at here, because the scope and the scale of that would be much bigger to have a treatment plant. An entire plant, meaning separation of receiving of solids and
But I
groundwater.
didn't think a decision had been made by anybody to give them a direction like that.
Oh, no, I think that's what they're doing. Oh, no, we didn't have that discussion.
That's what that's my
entirely-
point, is that.
Well, that's why I'm happy that Anne Marie's on there, because part of her problem is she has a shared tank or something where this study will not cure that problem.
So what do we need to do, Brandon, for clarification on this?
Well, I have the contract here, and I'm just gonna go, do you wanna talk about this under the village wastewater committee, or do we want to put this on the agenda to explain the scope of services in more detail?
Do you need time to prepare for that? Would it
It's
be
just a
better-
92-page document, so I don't know if we want to go through it right now.
Not just
So-
a 92-page document? Yes, we do not want to go through that right now.
I
So
think we
that'll
should
give
put it
you
on the
An
agenda.
opportunity,
Yeah.
let's put it on the next agenda, and that'll give you an opportunity to, circle
Yeah,
the points and,
and we can even have Craig, we can have Craig come back in
I just
here.
don't want people to be, what is this study? It's
Yeah.
not what I signed
oh,
up
no,
for.
no, I agree. Well, it's, and I just think I said that I'm shocked that it's just that one focus. I didn't catch that.
That's what I asked them. I said, wait a minute.
Okay.
What about the treatment plant facility?
I got one more thing. I don't know if we want to discuss this right now either, but there's been some things that have transpired on Melody Lane. We do have 2 residents here. I don't know if we want to discuss that now. I think they accidentally missed comments from
No, they didn't.
citizens. Oh, they
No,
didn't.
they did not miss it.
Okay.
I looked right at everybody and asked them specifically if they had anything they wanted to say, and they said no.
Okay, I just know I talked to both of them. They said they were coming here
Yep,
to discuss stuff. So
okay.
everything's okay. We can keep moving forward. But I at least wanted to show them the courtesy before I left my town manager report.
And I think I did.
Okay.
I hope that everybody is okay. Highway 95, we don't need any more of that, right, at this point in time. Anything else on the town manager update, Dave? Or Paul or anybody? ARPA discussion,
Yeah, I'm ready.
go.
So in the last meeting, we kind of postponed this discussion. The week before that, the board discussed prioritizing projects, long-term debt, and the storm that recently swept through the state of Vermont. The board requested that we provide more information about the tree project, the town clerk digitization project in Hoisington Field. We are looking to improve virtual meetings, but we don't have the money in the budget to do that, so that would be something we'd be looking for action from the board to approve up to $5,000 to assist with improving our virtual meetings, which would include eliminating the wires and improving the online experience of the meetings. We held we had a site visit with IT and SAPA, and we've looked at some gear that we can purchase. So if we want to move forward with that, again, it would eliminate the wires and improve the online experience. Require a couple of, basically, IT would also attend some of the meetings to test at various times of the day and so forth.
What's your recommendation?
Up to $5,000.
No, what is your recommendation to move forward with this?
Yeah, to
Do you
to
think
move
that's what we
forward
should
with
do? What
with
do
an
you think?
allocation to improve virtual meetings up to $5,000. I'm not 100% sure that we'd spend it all, but it would give us the flexibility to start making some decisions. That would be one of the recommendations. We don't have to act on it tonight.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
So when you look at the chart that you have, the already expenses that have been approved, and then the proposed expenses that are left,
Correct.
where are we going to reduce the second column by at least $100,000? Because there's only $322,000 left right now, not $337. And your total here is $418. And on a previous discussion, I know that you had said something about, well, then some of it could come out of reserve accounts. I'm not in favor of that. I would clearly like to just stay in the lane of ARPA funding and not mixing these projects with reserve account expenses. But that's what we're gonna be challenged with. there's only 322,000 left in ARPA to be spent. And that list right there says 418, so it's $100,000. It has to be
Yep.
at a minimum.
Just to be clear, Dave, that 322 is because of the 15 we just spent
Correct.
on hoses?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry, but me personally, I could get you $43,000 out
Oh,
of there
no,
really quick.
I'm.
I don't care about welcome signs in the town. Not when I got fire hoses that aren't working
Yeah.
and roofs that are leaking and so on and so forth, so.
Well, but I want to be clear, though, that this list might add up to $418,000. We don't have
We don't have it, right,
$418,000. I agree with you, Dave, that we're working within, the number that we have.
So somehow we've gotta get that to the number that we have, even to begin the discussion.
And that's the whole idea of the list, is to prioritize these things as a matter of need or appropriateness based on our original goal, which was to do as much as we possibly could, long-term, that benefits everybody, all of us. Such as the roofs and the draining RFQ that you have going on, and things like that.
Yep.
So that's part of that prioritization process. I'd like everybody, if you could, for the next meeting, to go through this list, and if there's anything you wanna add, or if you talk to Brandon about it, I think you added something tonight, didn't you, Brandon? To this list. Just start prioritizing, cross off the ones you don't wanna, things that don't make sense, put them in order, the stuff at the bottom falls off. We don't have $325,000, or $322,000.
A few months ago, Kelly left something for Candy to pick up at the school, and it's very easy to find. So anybody who's interested in hoisting field, we need to go back and get the engineering documents that are already existing. There's already many site evaluations. They're not that old.
No.
There's wetland delineations already. There's identification of some things that will be really important to know. The company that did the demolition there, for instance, there's some septic lines that were left in ground, they're capped. There's a
There's
lot
a
of,
septic system over there.
there's a lot of fun things that once people say, well, I'd like to dig up over here, that we're gonna have some surprises. So, but though all that, you gave that to me,
Yeah,
and it wasn't hard for you to find.
I found it
Right.
instantly.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
and that was under Jim Mullen, and look for the demolition that Dave just mentioned, because it was a couple of years prior to that. That, like I said, that whole thing was looked at.
Oh, it was an engineering firm that did the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it included I think, the 1879 building at
Oh, yeah.
that time.
Yeah. Yeah, because it identified the septic there and the water. The water goes clear all the way across the artesian well is way over by Tickham's property. Right now.
I recall, I think that just the 1879 building, when they did that, and they talked about mold remediation, heating, electric upgrades, everything that needed to be done to clean that building up, straighten it out, was close to 400 or just over $400,000. Just for the 1879 building, so it's where I'm.
Can I comment?
Yes.
So, the wetland delineations that you were talking about are no longer up to date. After the school was torn down, fill was added, and the elevations are now changed. And it also affected the wetland delineations, so they basically got a new quote. These were the quotes that they received to update the wetland delineations and in the survey. So I guess that's why they were.
They better be careful what they're searching out for, because I'll tell you why. If anything, it's gotten worse with the backup of the water there. You may wanna have those ones and say that they're a little bit more usable now. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I never knew a wetland yet that shrunk.
That one's gotten bigger,
That one's gotten bigger,
a lot bigger.
which means less area
Yep.
to work.
And if I can, I won't be here for the next one, obviously, but I
Right.
would, I know you tried to reach out to West Weathersfield Fire, but I would really see, we helped Scott, needing it. They've had issues needing stuff. Like I said, if I can take that welcome sign stuff and put it somewhere, like the fire department or something of that nature, or that's.
Yep.
So-
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to Josh
No,
tomorrow.
I know, I'm just reiterating that. I know you.
Well, I'm looking at this list right now, and I look at something that Dave pointed out earlier, and it's on our, where'd it go? Yeah. Our fund balance, and we have digitization of the town clerk, $25,000.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a $75,000 balance already there somewhere
Yeah.
in the reserve account?
More than 100 total for all three.
Almost 100, I think it was 122 according to my number.
Something like that.
And then, I'm not sure that where was the other one on that? Digitization of land use records, I'm not sure that can be connected to, town clerk. Because aren't they separate? Yes or no? I think they're separate.
I think they're separate, the way we've been looking at them, but they're in the town clerk's.
The money we're
So-
looking at are fund balances or reserve accounts, and I'm not sure you could move it out of a town clerk
to-
reserve account to land use is
Right,
kind of
they're
my
two
point.
separate
But then you have the,
land use records.
virtual meeting improvements. We just got done talking about $5,000 for that.
Yeah, that's half of what's.
That's
on
half of what's there.
Yeah.
Well, remember, even before you decide on that, though, $100,000 needs to come out of that somewhere, the totality, even, and even if there's something not on that list, because it's not real, because we don't have $418,000.
Field and, welcome.
No, I wouldn't put everything at zero. I'm having a hard time believing that it will cost $45,000 for the town garage generator. I mean, what's that gonna be? A one-ton truck?
I think that's
Quotes for all
that's,
these.
but that's a low estimate that's already come in on an RFP, I believe, on that.
Are you having a hard time with your options? Remember, don't take your eye off the ball. It's kinda like here. When you're looking for something to power up until we can get back on the grid, very, very limited and small in scope.
Yeah, but I was there when we did that, and the desire over there is for it to be diesel and connected to the existing tank,
Yeah,
not propane,
yeah.
and that's a more expensive generator.
It depends.
It was weird.
Well-
And then came the power lines needing to be moved, I think, or had something to do with the location and how that would all be run, and where the connection would go, and where would you put the thing, and, yeah. I was there.
Well, no, and I get that. So that means to me a totally different thing.
Yeah,
That means to me, what are you trying to do? Maybe we should talk to the road crew. Because their problem was having electricity to pull up the doors to get the grader out. It wasn't to have the whole thing where, as a matter of fact, they bought a brand new Miller wire feed welder with a generator on it that is on a pallet. Okay, you don't need to weld, so you don't need a generator to weld in the shop while GMP could be reconnected. You gotta stay focused here. About 1 or 2 days out of power, and what do you need? Diesel fuel, even if they were to, which they're not gonna weld, if there's a breakdown, they're probably gonna leave that broken unit and go get one that runs, because they're in the event of why the power's down.
I got one other quick thing.
go ahead, Dave.
No,
I mean, Paul, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Um,
I'm tired.
just one other quick thing on here, and this comes from being on the planning commission and stuff, and I'm not down, and I'm gonna apologize, I'm not downplaying like Poison in the Field or anything, but I think there needs to be a better list of, in what they need to be done. But, mapping of scenic views right here, that's something that we've talked about at the planning commission, it's something that's a nice to do, but I wouldn't put that on the, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't put that on the top of the list, and the reason I say that is, we need to have a good idea of where those views are, we've been talking about that in the planning commission, but I do feel that there might be some grants and some stuff from regional
That's exactly
planning,
where I was going.
that could be used for some of that, so honestly, that would, the mapping of scenic views, that's gonna be on the bottom of the list for this, I feel we can get money for that elsewhere and get support for that.
Dave, I got 4 items I just took off the list for 103,000.
what is 1879 SH generator?
That's a generator
Schoolhouse.
for the schoolhouse.
Schoolhouse generator.
Yeah, and I had a motion on the table in the past for $2,000 to get it done.
Yep.
There is a question with that, though. Him and I have worked on it and talked about it. We haven't spent the money you authorized yet. If the part of that was, we were looking for a volunteer to go over and hook that thing up and turn it on when the rain comes.
He just left the meeting.
Oh, you're volunteering him?
He said he would.
Him and I volunteered you.
No, he said Darren said that he had a box that came out of somewhere, the electrical box, the double throw
Yeah,
panel to
yeah.
go ahead and do it. Is that what you're talking about?
Over at 1879
Yeah.
Schoolhouse.
It was to take the entrance to make it available to accept a generator.
Okay.
This is electrical work to do
I
Right.
see.
on anybody when you're gonna, because you need to have a switch to throw yourself off. I've got one.
Yes,
Big
yeah,
one.
yeah. Yeah, it's required. You gotta have it.
Yeah. So you pull that big lever and you're off the grid and then you're on yourself. Yes.
And the automatic generators have to have an automatic switch. They have to do it automatically.
The mapping scenic views, Paul. I did reach out to regional planning, and there is a grant coming up that we will be applying for, so we can strike mapping and scenic views.
So I did the scenic view mapping, digitization of the town clerk stuff there, town clerk digitization. We got the money in a reserve account, so get rid of that. Signs, 43,000, and stipends to the fire departments, $103,000, 4 items. And I'm not saying that's what should go, I'm just saying that's what I put down. You know, there's probably more here that could go. Where did we end up? Beth, go ahead.
What are the trails? What's that?
That's a good question. What are the trails, Brandon?
It was,
80,000 for the trails?
yeah, it's improving the trails in the town forest. They,
Never been there, so.
yeah.
I've
So
never been there.
the ATA and the Conservation Commission, the ATA is the Trails Association, and they've been working on the town forest for quite some time to develop bike tracks, biking paths, for beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and some hiking and so forth.
Oh, and then it would tie into the,
You can access them from Route 44.
Yep.
From the other side, you can go up from that side up over into our side of the forest.
So there's this like concept in town for the trail around the mountain, and that would
okay.
basically go into that. There's actually a bridge that broke down that we tried to apply for a grant to fix, and the grant didn't end up coming through. So that would be,
Well, that was another place I was gonna go, is what's available for grants? And, you know, maybe a little bit of money to leverage some grant funding.
yeah.
That was another thing we talked about at the beginning. Use this money to leverage, you know, funds like that, rather than spending it all on doing it ourselves.
Yeah, the only issue is that when I have a grant that comes up that you can apply for, if we don't have the matching funds available to utilize in order to submit for the grant, then we can't fill out the grant application. So that's kind of like this trails thing. If we had pushed some money aside, 15,000 or whatever it be, it gives me the 15,000 to use as a match for a $100,000 grant.
I think we do have that money, though.
It's an ARPA, it's not allocated.
That's correct, but we have a rainy day fund that has over $100,000 in it that we can tap into anytime we want, right, Dave? If we wanted to, for grants.
Well, it's always been kind of just hell.
Yeah. And the point is, there's money. It's, you know, it's not all in just one place.
So these are all the proposals that basically came forward when we held those public input meetings at the schoolhouse and so forth.
The tree maintenance is where?
So if you scroll down into through your packet, there is an RFP for tree service. I believe that's attachment E, request for tree care bids. So there's at Hoisington Field, there's 2 trees that need to be pruned, 3 that need to be removed. Perkinsville Park, there's 2 that need to be pruned, 8 that need to be removed. Center Grove, there's 50 that need pruning. town office, 2 that need pruning, 1 that needs removal, and the Scutney Park, 1 that needs pruning and 1 that needs removal.
Same thing, though, the very first one. I'm urging you really strongly to go look up those documents that are held at the school about Hoisington Field. Those trees, and I'm getting really nervous about this, there were trees that were planted in honor of children that had passed away.
Okay.
Very serious. And I'm not in favor of just, doing some things. I'm almost sure that the stone thing that identified, some other people that have a long, more history than me in there, though. I served on the school board back in 1997, so I know what I'm talking about. Peter Corbett's son died, and there was a tree planted there. I'm almost thinking that Dave Taylor's son that had the accident with the bus. There was a very serious bus accident there. There was a tree that was also planted in honor of those children. So you gotta step lightly here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first I'm hearing about that, so.
It's on that paperwork that Dave has.
Or that you found at the school, was it?
No, Beverly,
Okay, yeah, see some,
someone,
well, but,
Lynn Estes.
anything with-
Bev Howe.
Scott
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
She has all that.
But some other people that have, Roger Newhall might know, or some people that have served the Richardsons, either Dottie or Danny, you gotta get into the village people that have been there for their whole lives.
When I was in school, one of my classmates passed away too. I don't know if that's Scott Richardson.
There's quite a few trees there that are
I think-
designated for a certain thing.
How can I get a copy of the documents that you gave to Dave?
I'll give them to you.
Okay,
It was engineering, most of it.
Yeah, and if you reach out to BJ at the school, I think she has originals too.
okay.
Okay, so everybody keep putting some thought into the prioritization of this list.
When is the last or date, or isn't it 25, is it, or 24 that ARPA can be, they need to be?
September 24, I think, is it September or October
I,
24?
for some reason, I think it's December of 2024, but I'll confirm. So just as a starting point, I'm gonna strike mapping of scenic views because there's a grant
Yep.
to support it. Strike the digitization of town clerk records because we have 74,000 in reserves.
That's 40,000.
So are there any other ones that you want me to strike so I can get them off the list?
How's everybody feel about the signs?
It's nice, but I think we have other things we need to do. This is my opinion.
I think the list is important, but I think the list is going to be shaved, even if you funded some to each one. And maybe, perhaps that was the discussion that was around the table, where it would be a starting point, and maybe they've already been reduced. But the one that's in front of us right now, I wish it had said the same number that was left are the ARPA funds, because it did not. It expanded considerably above that, even.
You know, Dave, tonight Darren came in and we took care of something that was a need.
Yep.
You know, we've got until the end of next year, and we're gonna be faced with some more of those types of things. And I'm not sure I wanna go to zero
I do
on
not.
this thing.
I do not. I would go all the way as far as to say that we should be thinking about saving 100 about the list time next year, and then at least 50.
I was gonna say between 50 and 100, sure.
And then look at the picture about what
Yeah,
just happened tonight that might just come in.
yes.
Okay.
That sound good to you, Brandon?
So you want me to basically take the proposals that are here, keeping 100,000, so spend 230 or
220.
220 roughly $1,000.
Yep.
Okay, I'll do that, and
Say 220 to 250, somewhere in that area.
Got it.
That puts us between the 50 and 100,000.
okay,
And not, sorry, not that I won't be here, but I think you should prioritize some, like, in other words, like,
okay,
like the signs, like Dave said, maybe you don't shave it all, but that's gotta be on the bottom of the list compared to maybe security here or generators for, you know, to keep some stuff going, maybe not the full amount there, but I really think that some of that stuff
The
is,
drainage here,
yeah.
and what's,
I mean-
what's that gonna really, I don't know what that's gonna
Well,
cost.
there's
Oh, look it over there, it already looks like it did.
Yeah, no
it's
kidding.
buckling more.
So,
3 years ago.
so we already know some things. We already know that the generator system here had some opportunity to get some of those funds recovered through a grant.
Right.
We tried collecting an insurance claim on the walls and they failed.
Mhm.
Because we know what works and what doesn't work. We know the curtain drains here, we're gonna have to pay for. We know that generators, we might not have to fully pay for. Anywhere. There's Homeland Security, there's other issues other than beyond whatever's going on.
Possibly even security.
Maybe. So when you pick those out, just think about that, because we tried having an insurance claim and they denied us.
Would you guys like me to take a stab at the prioritization?
Yeah, we can tell you if you're wrong.
After, yes, after this discussion, I think you've got a better feel for what we're thinking and what we're
Yeah.
looking at.
I do. Okay. I'll take a stab at it, and it'll just be a draft, so,
Okay.
okay.
It'll just start to get it in some sort of an order, at least,
Yep.
a ranking. if you will. Okay. Now, what have I gotta do here?
Motion to make Marina Garland and David Ainley, Conservation Commission and trustee of public funds.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 I have a discussion on appointments.
Okay,
So when we have these listed here, we say vacancies, so on and so forth. From myself resigning and doing some things, and some of the research we've done, we found out that some of these boards you don't necessarily have to be a resident of this town.
correct.
The way that the charter or the things state is the majority needs to be. I think it would be, maybe it'd be nice to see which ones those are, so people could understand that, you know, they could support, or if they had skill set in that area or interest in that area. You know, if somebody that uses the bike paths over here wanna be in Parks and Rec.
So perhaps by the name, when somebody puts their name in, put an R or NR
Well,
in
I
parentheses,
don't
is
even,
that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying, we don't know, like, the planning commission, we just found out, has to say, it says majority, it doesn't say every member
Has to be a
on the planning
resident.
commission has to be a resident.
But I'm talking about, so what are you asking, to identify the
Because how
person
would-
that puts their name in
No,
and what they are?
identify the positions that are open so that people understand
Oh,
whether,
oh.
because I think most people would say, well, I don't live in the town, I can't do that. But they might live around the town over and use the stuff here, so, that's all I'm saying, is I learned a lot doing some research on stuff, and that's just the way that the rules stay right now, is on some things it's majority. Select board, you have to be.
You have to be,
You have to be
yes.
here, yeah, so, just saying,
Mm-hmm.
futures.
On the appointment, isn't there two listers? Not one, two.
Yep. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, yeah, there is, because we have 3 listers, and I think, regardless of how we spend the funds at this point in time.
I didn't add Matthews yet. I'm sorry.
That's it for appointments. Approve the warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for the meeting of August 21st, 2023. General fund payroll, $15,919.02. Operating expense, $36,393.56. Highway fund payroll is $9,166.71. Operating expense is $597.11. Solid waste management payroll is $1,752.95. Operating expense $768.18. Library payroll is $2,391.97. 0 operating expense. Reserves is $143.92. ARPA is $68,784.10. For grand totals of payroll of $29,230.65 and operating expense of $106,686.87.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the warrants? I always look right over at Kelly.
Yeah, I know. So I was gonna ask a question. When you have all these M&T bank things on here,
Yes.
are the codes on underneath what the supply is? Is that where it goes to?
Yeah, that's where it gets coded into the budget. And the
Okay.
reason why there's so many M&T Bank is those are the charges on the credit card, and the charges on the credit card get allocated to different accounts within the general fund.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that they all went to their own account and not to the general fund.
Yeah, they're-
Okay.
They're all being booked into their own accounts, and that's why there's so many of them.
Actually, that's all I had.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Where is he? No, I won't, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, not on the bills. I have another question.
And just for clarification too, all those Norwich bills, it's because they're being allocated to different accounts within the general fund as well, to different budgets and so forth. 1879 Schoolhouse, Smart Memorial Hall, Fire Departments, Water District.
Dave, go ahead.
No, not on the bills. The question, doesn't have anything to do
Oh, it
with
doesn't have anything to do with,
No.
with this?
other business.
Okay. Any further discussion on the warrants? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the warrants signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Wendy. Other business?
Have you heard where the new cruiser is? Is it
Yes,
on the way or not?
it's here, it's being driven.
Oh.
Yep.
So that must have just happened because I saw Ryan's old one and he's still in that.
Yeah, I think we received it, I think it's been in service since last week. And the chief asked me for permission to sell the old cruiser. Is the board okay with me putting that in the next auction?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to basically pay $200 to put it into the auction, and then the process moves forward. We'll,
I mean, the alternative is to sell it, or to try to sell it. I mean, I was involved one time. Wes was mad and horned at me, but it was a good deal. We had a 1 ton with the plow and the body, and they had redone they sandblasted the body and painted it and everything, and it looked really nice. And he drove it over to the Ford dealer, and they were gonna give us something like $8,000 or $10,000 for it because we had already bought the new one outright. And the board let me make the call, which was fun, because they only offered 8 or 10, and I said to Wes, no, bring it home and we'll sell it here. We put it on the lot at Big Valentine's Field for like 12 or 15,000, and 1 week it was gone. We made like $4,000 or $5,000 extra.
Extra, yeah.
So
I remember that.
do you want me to try to sell it outright first? I can post it for sale.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to waste your time doing it or not.
I mean, it's worth $3,000 or $5,000.
Yeah.
How
Maybe
much?
just give it a shot.
But the auction,
5?
No, I mean, like, it's worth
no, I would go get
making an
approval.
additional $3,000 or $5,000.
I would get an opinion before
Okay.
you did that. I mean, you might say, used cars are pretty high,
Yeah,
They are right now.
so
That's a good.
an auction, it's not going to be, when you submit the $200 thing, it's not coming home.
Right.
So,
And you get what you get.
and clearly you advertise it as is, where is, I don't know, maybe it's worth you getting an opinion and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second that.
Let Paul.
Could be his last time.
Yes, second. He should have made the motion.
Oh.
He should have made the motion and the second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of adjourn? Say aye.
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 I just wanted to let this was a funny number that I did, so this is my last Monday at my job today too.